Namaskar. Welcome to this session. We have been considering marvelous statement of Vyasa while commenting on the Prakriti. Ete gunaha Parasparauparakta Pravibha Parinamina Sanyoga Viyoga Dharmana Itaretara Upashrayena Uparjita Murtaya Paraspara Anga Angitvepi Sambhinna Asambhinna Shakti Pravibhagaha. And we are trying to understand the implication of this marvelous statement of Vyasa. Of course, at our level, because at each level there will be different depth for this beautiful description of Prakriti as to how it works. So, in all the gunavyaparas, means all that which is generated by gunas, namely sattva rajatama gunas, prakasha kriya sthiti shila gunas, there these gunas, they get colored, they get influenced, they get impacted mutually by each other. Although we say that something is very sattvic, and then something is very rajasic, and something is very tamasic, and we label them that this is sattvic, that is rajasic, and that is tamasic. It doesn't mean that the gunas are appearing exclusively, that something is only sattva guna, and something is only rajo guna, and something is only tamo guna. It doesn't happen, not even as an exception. All the three gunas coexist in every manifestation, whether gross or subtle, whether material or inframaterial or supramaterial. It is the three gunas always not only coexist, but they become material cause of all manifestations. They have function in each manifestation. Even with sattvic manifestation, there is contribution of rajatama gunas. Not that they are only present in the manifestation, but they have function, they have purpose. If something is rajasic manifestation, the sattva tama gunas also not only coexist, but they are functional, they are purposeful. If it is tamasic manifestation, sattva rajatama gunas will not only coexist, but they will contribute and participate, and very materially they will participate. And that is what Parasparauparakta. So they work under influence of each other. So they influence each other and they get influenced by each other. So that is how these gunas are material cause of every manifestation. In short, nothing is pure or completely sattvic or completely rajasic or completely tamasic, or nothing is only sattva rajatmaka, or something as sattva tamatmaka, or something as rajatamatmaka. All the three gunas coexist. So whichever guna has a preponderance, then designation comes there as sattvic, as rajasic, as tamasic. So when the sattva guna is having preponderance, we say it is sattvic vyapara. We say it is sattvic manifestation. If the rajoguna has exuberance, then we say it is rajasic vyapara or rajasic manifestation. Same is the case of tamasic, tamoguna, where we say it is tamasic manifestation. However, we must understand all the three gunas always work there. In any manifestation, other two gunas are there. And they are materially there, not accidentally there, And not because it is not an exception that they are therefore there, but they are functionally there. And therefore we have something as sattvic, or something as rajasic, or something as tamasic, or something as prakashashila, something as kriyashila, and something as sthitishila. These three gunas, understand the cosmic material how it is. They are mutually of contradictory qualities. They have paraspara viruddha dharma. Mutually they have opposing nature. Sattva guna is as opposed to rajatama guna. Rajo guna is as opposed to sattva-tama gunas. And tamo guna is as opposed to sattva raja gunas. So that is how they are. Mutually conflicting, contradictory, and dissimilar, but they can at the same time will become Parasparauparakta. This is a wonderful characteristic of the cosmic primeval cause. So intrinsically they have opposite nature, but they have also the characteristic to be co-opting each other. This is a marvelous character of the Prakriti, the Gunatrayas. So that is what Vyasa is telling us in his commentary, Parasparauparakta. Then in the second attribute or second part of description, he says, there is a guna pravibhagaha. And therefore we end up saying, or it ends up being something as sattvic, or something as rajasic, or something as tamasic. So therefore there is sattva pravibhaga, or raja pravibhaga, or tama pravibhaga. That is only to show preponderance. Sattva pradhanyam means it is sattva pravibhaga. Tama pradhanya means it is tama pravibhaga. Rajat pradhanyam means raja pravibhaga. So that is how we classify the things as sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. There is only that pravibhagam. So when the sattva has preponderance, pradhanyam, or mahadansh, that is, sattva guna is overweighing the other two gunas. The other two gunas are there in alpamsham. The other two gunas are there in some nominal proportion. So this is clearly articulated by Vartikara in his Yoga Vartika. Pravibhago Adhika bhagaha Svalpabhyam. So the two gunas will be in Svalpam or Svalpamsham, and the other guna will be in Adhikamsham. And that is why, that is the Pravibhagam. Pravibhagam is the meaning, is the one which has this meaning. That is what we in simple terms say preponderance, over occupancy. So that is how we have to understand the concept of pravibhaga. So the gunas immediately fall in line with some pravibhagam. Either the sattva guna will take a lead role, or rajo guna will take a lead role, and tamo guna will take a lead role, and the other two gunas will always be in minor position. However, they are spoilers by their intrinsic nature. They co-opt. That is what is mentioned in Uparan, the predicate which Vyasa has used. Uparanjita. So they are Uparanjaka. There is a primary guna which will influence the other two gunas, and they will suitably participate in that manifestation. So there is something as principal guna, and the other two gunas will be subordinate gunas. Even in case of exalted sattvic manifestation, the other two gunas are there in Alpaumsha. So Sattva Pravibhagam means Rajatama Alpaumsh. Rajo Pravibhaga means Sattvatama Alpaumsha. And Tamo Pravibhaga means Sattva Raja Alpaumsha. So, we will have to now here understand that these gunas, they mutually impact and influence each other and get influenced and impacted. This is the brief statement as regards to the quality which I just now mentioned. It is not a mix-up. It is not a mixture or mix-up of gunas, because there is a classification by way of pradhanatvam and gaunatvam. Something is pradhana and something is gauna. And it's not just contamination. It is not just contamination, or it is not just a mix-up. And therefore we are able to designate something as sattvic, something as rajasic, something as tamasic. This is because of the pradhana gaunatvam and the pravibhaga. So it also should be understood that it is not contamination in guna vyapara and prakriti vyapara. Now coming to the third aspect which Vyasa has highlighted is satata parinamitvam. The gunas are of fleeting nature. So gunas means fleeting flux. So there is constant parinama, constant change in all material, all the prakritic manifestations. All the manifestations of Prakriti, they will always be getting altered, they will be always getting changed, they will be always getting transformed. So, that is another fact to be noted. So, what does it mean? Let's take an example here. The milk. The milk has dadi parinama. The milk can become yogurt. The milk can become curds. Now we know milk is alkaline and the curds thereof is acidic. So substantially there is significant difference between milk and yogurt, milk and curds. But it is just a transformation. The milk gets transformed into dugdha parinama, into dadi parinamam, in the example that is cited now. So there is parinamitvam, constant mutation. The Prakriti will be always having mutiny. All that is Prakritika will have mutiny, mutation taking place. And that's how the whole Prakritic manifestation or the Guna Vyaparas are subject to parinamas, transformations and changes. So, the visible and invisible universe of which the Prakriti is the material will be having satata parinamitvam. So, this is another aspect to be noted with regards to Prakriti and the Gunatrayas. It could be subtle manifestation or gross manifestation. There is always a change. It is always subject to changes. Moment to moment changes. Not only change, but moment to moment changes. So that's called Guna Parinama. So we'll have to understand the Prakriti is Guna Vyapara, and then the Prakriti has Guna Parinama. The Sattva Rajatama gunas will be always changing in proportions, although we say that the product is same. So best example is like milk. So we know the milk. The milk is milk for quite a while. So there is something that we say fresh milk. And then something is not fresh milk, yet it is milk. And then after a while, it will cease to be called milk. It will be so putrid that you will not be calling it milk. But you do not change the nomenclature every moment, although the matter is changing every moment. The matter of milk is changing every moment. We don't say that it is first moment when it is fresh that we say milk, and then next moment we say it is not milk. No, it is not like that. The designation remains for some time, but the designation is not permanent. Designation will be changing. So that is how the Guna Parinamas are to be understood. And the best example is like fresh milk becoming gradually putrid milk. So that's the Guna Parinama. So in the entire Prakritic creation, whether gross or subtle, visible or invisible, the change is unexceptionally there. No Prakritic manifestation will be without Parinama. Now sometimes we think that a boulder, a stone or rock, the rock remains as rock for years and decades and centuries and millennia. The designation doesn't change. But that doesn't mean that a boulder and rock is not transforming. It is transforming moment to moment, moment by moment. But the designation doesn't change, like it changes for milk or it changes for vegetables. We know vegetables are perishable. So anything that is perishable matter, the designation quickly changes. That's why we have the usage of fresh and not fresh, and then old and rotten. But in case of boulder and stone and rock, we don't say fresh fresh rock or fresh boulder, and then the old boulder, old rock, we don't say it is putrid. However, it is old by some centuries or even millennium or millennia. But however, the change is there. The rock and stone are not changeless. They are changing, actually changing moment to moment from the point of view of metaphysicists, because they are made up of gunas, and the gunas are have satata parinamitvam, and therefore there will be parinama. But we don't cite the parinama. We see that the perishable things, milk and vegetables, they are fresh for a very short while. Their freshness doesn't last too long, and quickly it becomes old and putrid and rotten. But that doesn't happen with respect to certain matters, solid matters such as metals and rocks and boulders. But it should not be deemed that they are not changing. They are changing. They are changing moment to moment. Although a rock might be 10,000 year old or 50,000 year old, the change is there. So this is to be understood. The satata parinamitvam. Nothing of the gunas will be aparanami, non-changeable, non-mutable, immutable, unchanging. This is absolutely impossible, not even as an exception, that it is true that some matters can be changeless. Although we see the metals are metals for years and years and years, decades and decades and decades, and centuries and centuries and centuries after centuries. The rock and boulder and stone, etc., we see that they are not changing. But that is not true. This should be understood. It is because of this mention of the metaphysicist that there is satata parinamitvam and guna parinamitvam. Then, the fourth aspect that Vyasa stresses on is sanyoga viyoga dharma. Again, wonderful, beautiful description of the guna parinamas, guna vyapara, sanyoga viyoga dharma. Here, you will come across in the commentary, the glossary of Vachaspati Mishra on Yoga Bhashya. He has one interpretation. He says, Sanyoga Viyoga Dharma, that means Sanyoga with Purusha, giving samsara, bhoga, bandha, and then Viyoga means apavarga. So, with respect to aviveki, there is sanyoga, and with respect to viveki, there is viyoga. So he refers the sanyoga viyoga with the purusha. Prakriti purusha samyoga is bandha, is bhoga, is samsara, is prapancha. And then prakriti purusha viyoga is apavarga. So he says that it is with reference to kushala purusha, kushala akushala purusha, viveki aviveki. With regards to them, he says there is this sanyoga viyoga aspect. And of course, Patanjali has also said drashtro drishya sanyogo heya hetuhu, and tadabhavat sanyoga bhavaha hanam tadrushe kaivalyam. So these are sadhanapada sutras, respectively 17 and 25. So Vachaspati Mishra says purushena sah sanyoga viyoga dharmanaha. The sanyoga viyoga dharma of gunas is with reference to purusha. So this is what is a viewpoint of Vachaspati Mishra in his Tattva Vaisharadi. And he also quotes Shruti here. He also quotes scriptural statements from Upanishads, which come in Taittiriya Aranyakam 6.10 and Shvetashvatar Upanishad 4.5. Now these scriptural statements have the similar meaning or similar tone to express. What is this statement? Ajamekam lohita shukla krishnam bhavvi praja sujamana sarupa ajohi eko jhanam na anushete jahatyenam bhukta bhogam ajo anya. So, this Shruti of Taittiriya Aranyak and Shvetashvatar Upanishad says, Sattva Guna Nirmala is the Shveta. Because here he has, Shruti uses three descriptions or in term of Varna, color. Lohita, Shukla, Krishna. Lohita for Rajoguna, Shukla for Sattva Guna, Krishna for Tamo Guna. As Patanjali uses Prakasha Kriya Sthiti Shilam, Upanishad says Shukla, Lohita, Krishna. Shukla for Sattva Guna, Lohita for Rajoguna, and Krishna for Tamo Guna. And that's how Upanishads describe the three gunas. Now, about the Sattva Guna, it is Nirmala and Shveta Varna, Shukla Varna. Rajoguna is Ragatmaka and therefore Lohita, that is reddish. And Tamoguna is of the nature of Ajnana or Moha, Andhakara, darkness, and therefore it is black, dark. So this is the Prakriti described in Upanishads. It is Aja. The Prakriti is Aja. Aja means unborn. Ajanma. And then Bhavvi means giving rise to countless manifestations. So Bhavvi Prajaha, it gives birth to numerous, multitudinal manifestations. So it is breeding ground for all various manifestations, gross or subtle, sattvic or rajasic or tamasic. And endless manifestations, ananta. So it gives endless manifestations, or endless manifestations ensue from Sattvarajatam gunas, Shukla, Lohita, Krishna gunas. And therefore the creation that is manifest or unmanifest or visible or invisible or gross or subtle, it is not different than Prakriti. It is all of the nature of Prakriti. But then there is another unborn. Ajo anyaha, the last word from the scriptural statement, Ajo anyaha. There is another unborn. And that another unborn is Purusha Tattvam, Atma Tattvam, the self. When there is asakti, jahati, when there is jushamana, when they both are having mutual attraction and therefore conjunction, the Purusha will be experiencing Prakriti. The Prakriti will be experienced and the Purusha Tattva will be experiencer. And therefore Purusha Tattva, Atma Tattva will be experiencing the Prakriti. So this is how the Sankhya precept has come in Upanishads. In brief, the statement that was quoted, it says the following. The one unborn, which is self, for the enjoyment of himself, approaches another unborn, which is Prakriti, which is of the nature of Sattva, Raja, Tamo gunas, namely white and red and black. And it produces similar manifold creations, all Prakritic creations, countless, infinite creation takes place from it. for the enjoyment of the Purusha Tattva. But this Atma Tattva, when liberated, abandons the whole Prakriti whose enjoyment he has enjoyed. So this is what is the meaning of the scriptural statement, literal meaning of the scriptural statement. So Vachaspati Mishra quotes the Upanishads here, and the Sanyoga Viyoga is with reference to Prakriti Purusha Samyoga Viyoga, according to him. So the Prakriti is Sanyukta with a bonded one, bound one, and then Mukta with liberated one, or disjuncted from a liberated one. So this is Vachaspati's interpretation that one will come across if somebody takes recourse to Tattva Vaisharadi of Vachaspati Mishra. However, Vijnana Bhikshu in his Yoga Vartika has another interpretation, which is again interesting. So, he has something else to say. He refers to Sanyoga Viyoga within the Prakriti itself. It doesn't bring the Purusha here. So he says there is Sanyoga Viyoga in the three gunas within themselves. Because the gunas are capable of expanding and contracting. So for sattvic manifestation, the Rajatama gunas will contract. For Rajasic manifestation, Sattva-tama gunas will contract. For Tamoguna manifestation, Sattva-raja gunas will contract. And for Sattvic manifestation, Sattva guna will expand. Rajasic manifestation, Rajoguna will expand. And Tamasic manifestation, Tamoguna will expand. So this aspect of expansion, contraction is highlighted by Bhikshu in his commentary to describe Sanyoga Viyoga Dharma. And we have seen this in earlier part of delineations, Sattva Pravibhaga, Rajo Pravibhaga, Tamo Pravibhaga. So, he says that the Prakriti, wherever there is a preponderance, the other two gunas, one quality has preponderance, means other two gunas will slowly retract. And that is being referred to here, Sanyoga Viyoga. But in any case, there is not complete disjunction. No manifestation will be bereft of Sattva guna, or bereft of Raja guna, or bereft of Tamo guna, or bereft of Sattva Raja guna, or Sattva Tamo guna, or Raja Tamo guna. The three are going to always be there. And we have seen that very purposefully and functionally. So Viyoga is not absolute. A guna or two gunas will shrink significantly, but not absolutely. So this is what is meant by Sanyoga Viyoga Dharma in Prakriti, according to Vijnana Bhikshu. He doesn't refer it to Sanyoga Viyoga with Purusha. So, Sanyoga Viyoga Dharmana is one reading of Vyasa Bhashya. And Sanyoga Vibhaga Dharmana is another reading in Vyasa Bhashya. So there are two readings of Vyasa Bhashya. A ardent student should also notice this. Sanyoga Vibhaga Dharmana and Sanyoga Viyoga Dharmana. And therefore, Sanyoga Vibhaga, because of Vibhaga, Vijnana Bhikshu has this interpretation which justifies both the readings of Vyasa Bhashya. So anyway, this was just as an information as to Sanyoga Viyoga Dharmana is the reading in one bhashya, and there is also alternative reading Sanyoga Vibhaga Dharmana, and therefore Vijnana Bhikshu has a different interpretation. And of course, it perfectly goes well with the Sankhya tenet that Sattva, Raja, Tamo gunas, all the three are always there in all manifestations without exception. Now, coming to the fifth aspect of Bhashya, Anga Angi Sambandham, Anga Angitve Api. So, there is this relationship. How the three gunas are coexisting. We have seen that they are mutually contrary in nature. Shanta Ghora Mudha, Prakasha Kriya Sthiti, or Sattva Rajatama. That means we see that there is a mutual contrariety. But in any manifestation, they take Anga Angitvam. They take the relationship of the nature of part and whole. And therefore, like the part will not be in conflict with the whole, the part is needed for the whole. If you remove that part, then the whole is not whole, the whole is incomplete. So we have to understand the concept of Anga Angitva, or the relationship of the nature of the part and whole. So if it is sattvic manifestation, Rajatama gunas will be Angam, part. If it is Rajasic manifestation, Sattvatama gunas will be Anga. And if it is Rajasic manifestation, Sattvatama guna will be Anga, the part. So the gunas function by Anga Angitva Sambandha. This is again very important thing to understand the metaphysics of this creation. And therefore, there is something possible to be Sattva Pradhanya or Rajo Pradhanya or Tamo Pradhanya. Because the other two guna is not only secondarily there, but it is becoming part of it. And therefore, there is no contamination as such. The other two gunas, by the uparaktata, become the part of it, and not attainters, not spoilers. So, that is what the fifth part of the Vyasa's characterization of Prakriti tells us. In the sixth one, Paraspara Angangi Bhavam. So these three gunas come together with Anga Angi Bhavam, as just now explained. So although they have Bhinna Karya Shakti, we know what is Sattva Guna manifestation, how it is different than Rajasic Tamasic. What is Rajasic Guna manifestation, how it is different than Sattvic and Tamasic. What is Tamo Guna manifestation and how it is different than Sattvic and Rajasic. We know this very well. They have Bhinna Karya Shakti, they have different potentialities and potencies. Now these potentialities remain intact when they take Anga Angitva. And that is how Prakriti, or the primordial matter, the cause, works. So their Karya Shakti is asambhinna. So although they have mutually different characteristics, when they come as Anga, then they participate differently. This is what we have got to understand. That is why the universe is cosmos. And universe is not chaos. So although they have different potentials, when they come in a natural phenomenon, they take Anga Angitva. Man-made things are not there because that we can make a mix-up, we can make a mixture, and we can contaminate something. We will spoil something. This is how human creation is with the matter that is available. Human beings can contaminate a matter. Like the famous example that comes in Darshan Shastras, that a milkman will be mixing water in milk because the water can be easily mixed with milk. And therefore, the milkmen are in the habit of mixing water with milk and then marketing it as milk. But then we know that it is contaminated, it is mixed. But in nature, in the natural manifestations, you don't have such kind of mess up because of anga angitvam. Okay. And there is also no sankaram or mixing up. So they maintain their karya janana shakti. The karya shakti is maintained intact. This is how the things are in natural phenomenon in universe, which is not in man-made, because we can mix up. A cup of tea, there can be mix up with a business interest, profiteering nature. So there will be some contamination. So man-made products have contamination, but the nature-made do not have contamination. The man or the living beings will spoil the water. Otherwise, the water as it is will be pure. The living beings around there might spoil the water. So the natural phenomenon, that's why when we say natural spring of water, we have no doubt about its purity. So what is being said by Vyasa as exposed or given exposition by Tattva Vaisharadi of Vijnana, Vachaspati Mishra, he says, Na esham shaktayaha sankiryante karya sankaravoneyo hi shaktinam asankaraha. There is no sankaram. There is no mix-up. When something is very prakritik, something is very natural. So, it can be said that the separate qualities of gunas and the energies of gunas of Sattva Raja Tama namely are not destroyed in any manifestation, or they are not contaminated by any manifestation. Their interconjunction or coexistence and their nature to co-opt is something that we need to appreciate. They will always co-opt. So that's how we have to understand the manifestations which are tagged as sattvic or rajasic or tamasic. The other two gunas are very much, they are very, very materially. And that's why we get diversity in the universe. Now, there is a prima facie view, or there is an objection raised here. So let us consider what in philosophical polemics the objection is. Say in a huge water body, a drop of inflammable petrol the petrol loses its power and potency. A drop of petrol in ocean loses its inflammability. Now, it is something that you are mentioning that Prakriti works in a way that even if you drop a drop of petrol in huge water body, it loses the potency, and you say it doesn't lose the potency. It is a contradiction. Does the petrol not lose its potency when it is dropped in a huge water body? And yet you say no, the Paraspara Sambhinna Shakti, that their mutual powers are intact. How is this possible? If there is a tonic, a bottle of tonic, and a drop of poison, you deem to say that the power is not destroyed. Because we know the power of poison is to kill the life, and the power of tonic is to give invigoration to life, energy to life. Now, if there is a drop of poison in a tonic, still you say the power is maintained. So, and you say there is no sankara and there is no mix up. This is untenable. This is the objection that is raised. So let's try to know this answer to this objection. See, the gunas, they mutually co-opt. They have mutually paraspara anuvartanam and paraspara anuruktata. Therefore, Vyasa in his commentary has said, Tulya jatiya atulya jatiya shakti bhedanupatinaha. So he says, when they come in anga angi bhava, as described just a moment earlier, they maintain the Shakti Vibhaga intact. And the asambhinnata, asankaritata, asankirnata, amishritata is all maintained. And then the gunas participate in tulya jati. See, if example is to be given here, see, you know, sugar is a sweetening agent. Sugar is sweetening agent. So putting sugar in water, the water will become sweet. Putting sugar in milk, the milk will be sweetened. Putting sugar in lemon juice, how is the sugar working? It is a sweetening agent, but then it doesn't necessarily sweeten that beverage, which is lemon juice. It will mitigate the taste of lemon to whatever extent. If you put sugar in very, very bitter substance, although it is sweetening agent, it doesn't make that substance sweet. So the sugar will come differently, will get dissolved. A bitter substance, it will dissolve. Water, it will dissolve. Milk, it will dissolve. Any sweet substance, it will dissolve. Any sour substance, it will dissolve. The sugar will dissolve. But that doesn't mean that it will make sweet of every substance. So it will participate. And then we know it can add to the taste. That is why you add sugar to different tastes or substances of different tastes, and sugar contributes there. If it comes in right proportion, it will contribute positively. If it comes in wrong proportion, then it will not contribute positively. Similarly, although these three gunas, let us say one guna is very sweet, another substance is very, very hot and pungent, then there is another substance which is very, very, very sour, or another substance which is very, very, very salty. So, adding sugar to these various substances of different tastes and mutually opposite tastes, sugar will dissolve in that liquid. So similarly, these gunas, although they are of mutually different nature, they will become anga, they will become angam, and therefore there will not be that contamination or mix up. And so that is what he says, tulya jatiya atulya jatiya shakti bhedanupatina. So if it is sattvic manifestation, Rajo Guna will come to support the sattvic manifestation and not spoil. If it is sattvic manifestation, Tamo Guna will come there in support of it. So it will contribute differently. Tamo Guna will contribute in one way for sattvic manifestation, another way for rajasic manifestation. Rajo Guna will contribute in one way for sattvic manifestation, another way for tamasic manifestation. Sattva Guna will contribute in one way for rajasic manifestation, another way for tamasic manifestation. Like salt or sugar dissolve in any substance, any liquid, they can mutually dissolve into each other and contribute rather than spoiling it. So that is what tulya jatiya and atulya jatiya predicates used by Vyasa are to be understood. So that's a Shakti Vibhaga, and they do maintain their Shakti Vibhaga and yet participate. And Vyasa has clearly given exposition to this characteristic, and therefore there is no room for such an objection. So there is something called as material cause and something called as assisting cause. So the other two will come as assisting cause when something is material. In sattvic manifestation, sattva is material cause. But Rajatama Guna will come as assisting cause and not as spoiling cause. In Rajasic, sattva and tamaguna will come as assisting cause and not as spoiling cause. In tamaguna manifestation, sattva rajagunas will come as assisting cause, although not material cause, but and definitely not spoiling cause. This is how the nature is. The natural nature. Today we have to have this expression, natural nature, because we have dabbled with the nature. The naturality of the nature has been compromised because of human interference. Other living beings have not interfered as much as the mankind has interfered. So, therefore, such objection has no place. Now, to sum up, Bhashyakara makes a following statement, which really wonderfully summarizes the beautiful description of functioning of Prakriti. Pradhana velayam upadarshita sannidhana gunatve apicha vyapara matrena pradhanantaranita anumita stita purushartha kartavyataya prayukta samarthaha sannidhi matropakarina ayaskanta manikalpa. This is again an enormous statement. Seems to be a long statement, but it is very brief statement to describe enormous purport. So Vyasa says here, the guna, in their preponderance and prominence, because we know somewhere sattva guna has prominence, somewhere rajoguna has prominence, somewhere tamoguna has prominence. So in their prominence, which is abhivyakti, which gives a manifestation, the other two gunas, along with pradhana, becomes assisting factors. Sahayaka. They become assisting factors. So for instance, if it is a celestial bhoga, celestial experience, divya daivi bhoga, then while the embodiment is created, the sattva guna will be primarily there. Like difference between the earthly beings and celestial beings, terrestrial beings and celestial beings. So celestial beings will have more sattva guna in their embodiment. The terrestrial embodiment will have more of other two gunas. So the gunas come in the assembly corresponding to manifestation. Therefore, other two gunas should not be considered as excluded. They come in a different way. Like celestial beings, there is sattva guna preponderance. Human being, there is rajoguna preponderance. So in human manifestation, the gunas will differently constitute it. While in infernal beings, there is preponderance of tamoguna. So the gunas will differently constitute an infernal creation, which is tamasic, and then terrestrial creation, which is rajasic, and celestial creation, which is sattvic. So this is how they work. And they work to subserve the Purusha Tattvam by mere proximity. They don't taint the Purusha, they don't touch the Purusha, they do not taint it. But ayaskanta manikalpam, by mere proximity, like iron particles coming in the magnetic field of magnet do not interfere with the quality of magnet, although they become magnetic. It is the proximity. With a proximity they become magnetic, but do not spoil the power of magnet to be magnetic. So similarly, Purusha is not touched by qualities. By mere proximity, the gunas will start working and the gunas will manifest. And therefore he uses that metaphor of ayaskanta mani, that is magnet. Magnet and iron particles. Magnet will draw iron particles. And perhaps they will touch magnet. But then you can separate. Suppose it's like electromagnetism. If you stop the electric supply, then it will lose the magnetism and iron particles will fall off. Or even if the iron particle has touched magnet, you can separate it, you can pull it apart. So it doesn't enter into magnet. Iron particles don't enter the magnet, they remain stuck to magnet. Similarly, the gunas don't enter the Purusha. And the gunas will work merely by proximity, they don't have to have even contact. They don't have to even have physical contact, and there can be no physical contact because the Purusha is nominal, not phenomenal, and the Prakriti too is nominal and not phenomenal. So that is how Vyasa has made a paraphrase of how Prakriti works. Anyway, we will continue to explore this marvelous Prakriti, but enough for the time being. We will consider this in the next session. Namaskar, all of you.